Welcome.
Hello, judges. You're doing a fantastic job. Keep up the good work. You guys want to hear another story?
Yeah!
One more time. You want to hear another story? Yeah. Alright, let's do this. There was a point in time, not too long ago, in bedroom communities across this great nation of ours, that newspapers were delivered door to door, 7 days a week, by a fleet of independent businessmen known as paperboys. I was a paperboy. And from May, let's hear for paperboys. John Brady. From May 1983 to the summer of 1985, I faithfully delivered the Rockland Journal News to 54 houses in and around New City, New York. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with New City, it is a suburb of New York City, approximately 20 miles north of the George Washington Bridge, and the home of every cop, fireman, and teacher that grew up in New York City in the 50s, got married in the 60s, and moved to their white picket fence, green front yard, and back deck in the 70s. My father was one of those people who grew up in the Bronx, became a New York City police officer, and thought he died and went to heaven when he had his house on Greendale Road in New City. It meant a lot more to him as a New York City police officer. He spent his days and nights chasing down bad guys. You know, I was doing 4 to 12, and I caught this guy. So the house on Greendale Road was a safe haven from harm. And as he would tell us these stories about his adventures in New York City as a police officer, it lulled us into thinking that it was safe in New City. But I quickly learned when I got that paper route that that wasn't the case. And treachery, trouble, and villainy lurked right outside the front door. There was Mrs. Tricana, an older Italian woman that lived at the end of Tavo Lane. She was convinced that I was not giving her all the coupons in her thick Sunday paper. I would walk to her house every day, and there was a statue, one of those statues of Jesus with his arms at his side, you know, like this, and he'd look at me, he's like, "Save yourself." "Who's taking my coupons? I'm gonna call your boss. I swear, I'm not getting all the coupons." And I assured her that she was, in fact, getting all the coupons in her Sunday paper. She was an annoyance, but next in line in villainy was the incredibly misnamed retired couple known as the Sunshines. The Sunshines brought no ray of light into my life, and in fact, their house was so far off the beaten path of my route, I had to make a special trip just to bring them the newspaper. And when I got to their house each day, I was amazed that many of the overgrown trees had not fallen into the poorly kept house. And as I ascended their front porch, I was amazed because the sunlight would be blocked out. But I had no problem with the trip or the danger of climbing their front porch. Mr. and Mrs. Sunshine were cheapskates. There was a day I knocked on the door. 4 weeks had gone by before they had paid me for the newspaper. "Mrs. Sunshine, you owe me for 4 weeks." "My wife would never let 4 weeks go without paying you." I had never met the woman in my entire life. Needless to say, they started getting soggy papers. But the biggest villain on my paper route was Billy Amsterdam. He was a foot taller than me, 50 pounds heavier than me, and I'm embarrassed to say, a year younger than me. Word on the street was Billy was angling for my paper route, so he was going to torment me until I caved. But this wasn't my first rodeo, and I had been bullied a lot as a kid, so it was going to take a lot of bullying to get me to give up the paper route. The taunting, that wasn't a problem. The occasional beatdowns, I didn't have a problem with that either. In fact, I remember as I was getting pummeled in Mrs. O'Shaughnessy's front yard that she stuck her head out the window. "Is that the McManus boy? Get off him or I'll tell your mother." You see, Billy Amsterdam had only one fear, and it was his mother. She was as short as he was fat. and twice as angry and mean, and she was not a woman that you wanted to cross. So the days and weeks and months went by, and Billy Amsterdam looked for new ways to make my life a living hell. There was one Sunday morning when he finally crossed the line. I had just finished delivering the giant, enormous, coupon-rich Sunday paper to the houses on the street where Billy lived, and was replenishing my stock when a black and white police car rolled by and stopped at the sight of me. The policeman emerged from the car and approached me and said, "Were you just on the street down there?" I said, "Yes, I'm the paper boy." He said, "Well, we've got a report of a man that matches your description walking around with a shotgun." My immediate reaction was, "Oh my God, there's a guy in work boots, jeans, and a Def Leppard Pyromania shirt walking around with a shotgun." I said, "Oh, wait a minute. Billy Amsterdam. Boo." The police officer then proceeded to ask me to put my hands on the back of the car, and I was frisked. In which, in all honesty, despite having a father who was a police officer, was one of the more humiliating acts I'd ever experienced. And at that very moment, I knew what I had to do. And amidst the blubbering and the tears, I proceeded to tell the kind officer that I had been bullied mercilessly by Billy Amsterdam. He put me in the back of his car and we proceeded to drive to Billy Amsterdam's house, which was about 30 seconds away. And when I walked into the kitchen where his mother sat in a blue terry bathrobe and him in his Batman underoos surrounded by 10 other police officers, I proceeded to tell the tale of all the horrors that he had put me through. And his mother got angrier and he got more scared. Moving forward, their Sunday paper was getting less and less full of coupons. Mrs. Tricano's paper was getting double coupons. And a few weeks later, I was awarded Newspaper Carrier of the Week for my hard work, my perseverance, and my entrepreneurial outlook on life. Thank you, everybody.